hoops.
They say you can't grade a trade until a few months down the line. You know, who won and who lost. Well, it's been enough time and we're seeing some teams definitely took gigantic L's on a few trades. In this video, we're gonna look at 3 trades that teams definitely regret making. They didn't all happen in this last calendar year, but this season, we're really seeing the damage that a bad trade can have. Now, luckily for all of these teams, we didn't have any all-time bad trades like OKC trading James Harden, or the Hornets trading for Vlade Divac in exchange for, I don't know, some high schooler named Kobe Bryant. The Kristaps Porzingis trade could end up being that bad for the Knicks, but today we're talking about 3 other trades that could have a lasting effect on franchises. Hey, it's Casey Kiernan, host of the AM Hoops YouTube channel. We are trying to grow this channel. Every sub counts. We appreciate each and every one. We're coming out with 3 quality NBA videos every single week, no matter what. If you love the league, check out the AM Hoops podcast. Monday through Friday morning, we go over every single NBA game so you're always up to date. Let's jump right in. Our first regrettable trade that we're seeing this year is Kelly Oubre Jr. from the Washington Wizards to the Phoenix Suns. Now fired GM Ernie Grunfeld let a young, talented, improving wing go for an old rental in Trevor Ariza. This was a move that you remember last year contending teams like the Houston Rockets were trying to make for Trevor Ariza and the Phoenix Suns. You know, teams that were maybe pushing for the NBA Finals or a conference finals. Not a team like the Washington Wizards. Literally, they let go legit assets for 4 months of Trevor Ariza. That is the definition of short-sighted. In Phoenix, Oubre has stepped up his game. He's averaging career highs in points and rebounds. Yes, there are more minutes on the Suns for him than there were in Washington, but his field goal percentage is up and his turnovers are down compared to last year, which means that regardless of the minutes he's getting, his game is improved. And as if it wasn't painful enough for Washington, they had to watch in early December Oubre Jr. basically win a game by himself for his new team. He hit back-to-back threes and had 2 clutch defensive plays to barely hang on and beat the Charlotte Hornets on the road and end a losing streak for Phoenix. After that trade, the Suns were able to re-sign Oubre while Ariza walked out of DC. Phoenix gave Oubre $30 million over 2 years. That would have made him the 3rd highest paid guy on the Wizards behind Bradley Beal and John Wall. But why not? I mean, Jan Mahimi's $15 million aside, why not have paid something around $30 million for a 23-year-old Kelly Oubre Jr., considering that this year, with how bad the Wizards are, plenty of young guys are getting plenty of minutes. This trade looks like a GM in Ernie Grunfeld who probably knew his days were numbered in DC after a decade plus, and he was desperate. And we wonder how the Phoenix Suns got so good so fast. This is how it happens. A team who's down lays in wait for either getting lucky in the draft with the draft lottery and a high pick, or for some desperate team in front office like Grunfeld and the Wizards to make some short-sighted, boneheaded move. And yes, you can officially feel bad for Bradley Beal and all Wizards fans, because when you look just a few years ago, like almost just 2 years ago, their wing depth was legit. They had Kelly Oubre Jr., Otto Porter Jr., and Bojan Bogdanovic all on the same team. Now, Otto Porter Jr. is a Bull, Oubre is in Phoenix, and Bojan Bogdanovic has been on Indy and now on Utah. And what does Washington have to show for it? Literally, for those moves and all that talent, now they have a 2023 second-round pick and a new GM, so there's that. Our second regrettable trade was the Spurs not getting more for Kawhi Leonard. Now, I get that Kawhi had really damaged his trade value. He sat out basically an entire year. He had some mystery injury. He was disgruntled. There was no guarantee he was going to sign anywhere. But can you imagine if the Spurs had really pushed for Pascal Siakam and DeMar DeRozan instead of Jakob Poeltl? It sounds crazy now, but at the time, Siakam had not made his most improved player jump. At the time of these trade talks, he was averaging just 7 points per game. And at this point, Poeltl is basically a non-factor, while DeRozan is putting up numbers, granted, in San Antonio, but of course they are going nowhere with him. Siakam would have jump-started their post-Kawhi rebuild. He is now the Raptors' future and current franchise player, about to make his first All-Star game, probably as a starter, too. Now, to be fair, people are screaming at their screens. Just stop typing that comment. I know that the Spurs asked for OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam, but the Raptors front office said no. But still, the Spurs accepted the trade on their terms. What if they had either really played hardball with Toronto, or maybe instead of DeRozan, an all-star, asked for a lesser vet or a couple of vets to make the money work with Siakam as the centerpiece of that trade? No, they had to have both DeRozan and Siakam or OG Anunoby. Or what about other teams? At the time, it was reported that these were the teams who at least made calls on Kawhi Leonard. They had the Cavaliers on the phone, the Celtics, the Sixers, the Clippers, and of course the Lakers. Now, we don't know what all those other teams were willing to put on the table. We have a good idea of what the Lakers were willing to part with, that young core. But at this point, almost any move looks better than what they got back in return for the future Finals MVP. San Antonio is off to their worst start since 1996-97. They were so bad that year, you might know that they got the #1 overall pick and drafted Tim Duncan. Hey, I don't know, maybe they continue on this path, win the lottery again, draft the next Tim Duncan, and this trade was brilliant. Probably not. Outside of that, Pascal Siakam would have been the closest they could have gotten to fair trade value for a real superstar in Kawhi Leonard. Siakam jumped from 7 points per game around those trade talks to 17 points per game, winning Most Improved Player, and he could maybe win Most Improved Player again for the first time ever because he's averaging 26 points per game this year. It's unheard of, the kind of jumps that this guy has made. Big respect goes to Masai Ujiri in that front office for seeing what they had in Pascal Siakam. I mean, it's hard to explain how bad he was his first and second years. I mean, calling Siakam a project was like a compliment. Literally, he had 17 assists in total in his rookie year, and in his second year, he was shooting 22% from three and 62% from the line. But still, Ujiri was unwilling to trade that guy with those numbers for Kawhi frickin' Leonard. The fact that he saw anything close to this in Siakam is amazing. But for the Spurs, of course, hindsight is 2020, that's the case for all of these, but they definitely qualify as a team that would probably like a redo based on the mess they're in this season. Next up is a guy that not many people talk about outside of Philadelphia, but the Rockets probably regret trading James Ennis III to the Sixers. The Rockets dealt Ennis to Philly for a second-round pick swap, so basically nothing. And what Philly got in return is a bench guy that is more than just a spark. At the beginning of December, he is invaluable for this team. The vet is showing yet again his ability to hit threes and really be active on the defensive end. You know, exactly what the Rockets need. They have been hit by the injury bug. Eric Gordon and Gerald Green have gone down. Yes, James Harden has carried the team, but that's what we see from him all the time in the regular season. Ennis would definitely be of some use right now. Ennis also a fierce rebounder, even though Houston is pretty set in that department. What they are not set in is awesome quotes. Listen to this quote from Ennis after that recent streak he was on. So, yeah, you know, basically I'm considered a hot guy now, so a lot of guys are flying at me. I want to be known as a hot guy. That's why I want to knock down shots. I can get people with my shot fake now because, you know, I'm a hot guy. That is a confident dude. A different dude than we saw in Houston, which, to be fair, is maybe the case with Ennis and Oubre and whoever. A change of scenery is the biggest difference for them. Ennis never really panned out as a Rocket. They hoped that he was going to fill that Trevor Ariza role that they were missing at the beginning of last year. He never produced as a Rocket, but he's had his fair share of big moments in Philly. All right, so those are 3 trades that teams are definitely regretting this season. If I missed any or you disagree, please write it in the comments. I'm sure there's someone that your team either lost or has now that you're regretting. But don't worry, there's always time to fix things as we look ahead to this year's trade deadline on February 6th.
Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a weekly NBA video.